It's Barbara Gork, Cape May Radio and WCFA. 3 years ago, we interviewed Jim Plousis and George Ingram on a book they put together called Jersey Lawman. And there's the book, right? And today we are talking with Tommy Raniszewski, who is putting together a reading of excerpts from that book. Tommy, how do you do?
Hey, pretty well, Barbara. How about yourself?
Okay, tell us about the Saturday, April 20th reading.
Yeah, I'm very excited about it. On Saturday, April 20th at East Lynne Theater, right at the corner of Hughes and Decatur Street, we are going to have a staged reading of Jersey Lawman, A Life on the Right Side of Crime by Jim Plousis and George Ingram. And the reading will be about an hour long, and it's basically excerpts from this book that will be presented by 6 actors and a narrator as well. And it's going to feature a lot of the highlights of Jim's 40-plus year career, from the time he was a patrolman in Ocean City and Woodbine up until being appointed a U.S. Marshal by President Bush in the early 2000s, I think in 2001 or 2002. And also he became the chair of the New Jersey Parole Board as well after that. So he's had quite a career in law enforcement.
I I noticed when I looked at the interview, and he's had local township experience, and also county, also state, also federal. Like you said, it's pretty impressive for that career. Is Jim going to be there?
Oh, he will. In fact, what he'll be doing after the performance, he'll be joining the cast on stage, and he'll be fielding questions from the audience. There'll be a short Q&A between Jim and the audience. And also there will be representatives from the United States Marshal Service there as well. The event on that night will be a pay-as-you-will at the door. Half of the proceeds will go to East Lynne's capital campaign for our new theater, and the other half is donated to the U.S. Marshals Survivors Benefit Fund, which aids the families of fallen and injured United States Marshals. So there will be representatives from the Marshal Service there. Our president, Susan Tischler, will present them with their half of the box office. So it should be a very, very nice evening.
How are you involved in East Lynne and
Well,
Jim?
I've been with East Lynne for several years now. I started there acting many years ago, and ended up becoming probably doing just about everything there. Even when I wasn't acting, I was helping with this and that and the other. And then finally, I was elected as president of East Lynne, and I served a term as president. And currently, I am a board advisor. I'm an advisor to the board, and also the social media manager of East Lynne as well. So
Many hats.
many hats, like everybody in Cape May County, right? I mean, that's how
Yes.
everybody here survives. You do this, but you put on another hat to go to another job and so forth. But I've known Jim Plousis for probably most of my life, from the time I was very young. My father was a police officer, and knew Jim Plousis, just through both being in law enforcement, although they worked in different sectors at the time. But they knew each other well. When my father retired from the Wildwood Police Department in 1990, he retired on a Friday after 27 years, I think, or 28 years, and on a Friday, and literally Monday morning went to work with Jim Plousis at the Cape May County Sheriff's Office. And he worked there for 14 years, almost 15 years, up until the day of his death. So I've known Jim Plousis for many years. He's been a very good friend to our family. Even after Dad passed away in 2005, Jim was a pillar of support for everybody in our family. A few years ago, when he came out with the book, he and I got talking, and I said, I can help you, on Facebook and so forth. And he and I got talking about this. I had written a piece about the history of the sheriff's office for Cape May magazine, which I've been with now for about 19 years. I guess about a year ago, I had mentioned to Jim it might be a really cool idea if this could be done as a staged reading, and he liked it. We kind of batted the idea back and forth for a while, and finally last fall, in fall of 2023, I talked to Craig Foles. He's the new artistic director at East Lynne, and also to the board and President Susan Tischler, and suggested to them that we do a reading, and with the proceeds benefiting the two charities. And they were behind it 100%, which I appreciated. Jim was elated that we were going to actually see this happen, and we're really looking forward to it. We really are, and it's got some really interesting stories in it as well.
It's just I read the book and I just reviewed the interview, and yeah, he's got stories.
Oh, and then some.
Yeah.
which was kind of tricky too, because you're talking about a 40 some odd year career that was already boiled down to 520 some odd pages, and then I had to
And that was
reread
heavily edited.
yeah, heavily, and it was just sort of picking and choosing the highlights, and not only picking and choosing the highlights, but doing them in such a way where I think I hope I was very successful in conveying the type of person and the type of law enforcement officer that Jim Plousis is. And he's an outstanding one. He's the type of a man who can, as you read, could be summoned to the Oval Office at the White House by one of the presidents. And when he comes back, he schedules an appointment to see a very small social group, a marginalized social group, simply to hear their concerns about how they may or may not be treated by law enforcement. So he's to me, he represents what every law enforcement officer is, which is a caring person who really has compassion for the people he serves.
And he did emphasize trying to be a peace officer rather than a warrior in the community,
Very much so. He's
trying to get that attitude
yeah,
promoted.
and ironically, his career, his journey through law enforcement, you read about some real dastardly people who he put behind bars and kept us all safe. But then at the tail end, what does he do? He becomes chair of the parole board, where now all of a sudden he's in a position of deciding, okay, who's served their time, who's worthy of a second chance. And that to me is the sign of just an outstanding human, a very moral man. He really is.
And unfortunately, his writer, Mr. Ingram, has passed away. Well,
I think his wife Pat might be there. I hope so.
mhm.
Because what I'd like to do also that evening is dedicate the reading to the memory of George. He was a wonderful writer, really had a great career in writing, and really helped Jim sort of tell the story. And it's interesting. Their story was interesting, as you know, how they were basically just neighbors, and
Yeah, neighbor who
had
went to go to neighborhood meetings and
yeah.
started talking. It's April 20th,
Mm-hmm.
Saturday at 8 p.m.
Yep.
And it is Jersey Lawman, a reading by 6 actors.
Let's see, what else do people need to know? It's also, if you're really not into law enforcement, you'll be pleasantly surprised. If you're really into law enforcement, if you're a reader and a fan of like true crime books, you'll love this, because this is what this is basically. It's tales of true crime, tales of local law enforcement. If that's not your bag, you're still going to like it, because what's fascinating about this, it's a glimpse at Cape May County's history since, I would say, from the 1970s through the eyes of one person. And that's an aspect of our history, something that we all share, that you really don't think about. I didn't even think about it until I started writing the script, adapting the book into the script. It's like, this is, if nothing else, this is a wonderful glimpse into basically 4 or 5 decades of Cape May County's history.
So anybody who likes those lunch and learn history talks kind of thing,
This is the place to be. Yep.
would probably like it.
And also, like I said, it's benefiting the U.S. Marshals Survivors Benefit Fund. It's also benefiting East Lynn's capital campaign, which is another exciting thing that's happening. And talk about history. It's a piece of Cape May's history that's unfolding in front of us. Here's this old AME church, that had a dwindling congregation, and they had that fire there from that accident that happened, and
right,
everybody kind of thought nothing would happen with it, and sure enough, like everything in Cape May, it it forges ahead with a brand new life, and East Lynne Theater is part of that. And talk about history in the making.
When do they expect to go to their new digs?
I think the talk is well, this year they're still going to be we're still going to use the stage at the First Presbyterian Church. The hope is by next year, and with through efforts like this that can get them the money
Yeah.
that they need and the help of the city, which they've got. Hopefully by next year we can start seeing some productions and some activity. And Craig Foles, the artistic director, is just elated with the idea of getting into a new space. I know I had breakfast with him recently, and he's really excited about it. And he's got some great ideas for East Lynne. He really does.
Thanks, Tommy, for talking
Hey,
with us today.
thanks,
And I hope
Barbara.
everybody goes to the East Lynne Theater on
I,
April 20th at 8 p.m.
I hope so. We'll see you there.